All right, Shalom Yahbashim Yashai Barakah to all the brothers, Yahweh Latham Bashim Yashai to all the sisters. This is I.S.U.P.K Canada scripture breakdown. If you got any questions, type them into the chat. Right? Got any comments? You can type them into the chat. We're getting the signing links ready for you at the moment. With me, I got all the way from Jamaica, Priest and Officer 1000 of Badawan. I got my brother from the north, Priest and Officer 500, Officer Shayuan. Myself and Priest and Officer 1000 Zabaja. We're back at it. Like, subscribe, and share this channel. Share this video. This class is sponsored by the like button. Smash the like button. Right? So tonight's topic, we're going to be going in on the hate crimes, right? And brotherhood, right? Because in this time and age, it's time for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans we got to come together, right? The whole idea of multiculturalism is it's a dead idea, right? Multiculturalism is dying. It's time. The nations are going to start sticking together, right? So while the other nations start doing that, it's time for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to come back together. It's time for us to stick together. Right, so my first article I got, I'm going to set it up right now. Slovakia. All right, so if you can see this article, if you can hear us clearly, put a 1 in the chat. If you got any questions or comments, you could post them in the chat. Any questions, we'll try to get to them promptly. Right, so we got our first article. Hate crimes up 37% in 2020. Other crime down, TITHES Canada. Right, so first let's get the definition on what a hate crime is. Slovakia. Hold up, one moment. All right. According to Slovakia, one second. Let me get the definition out of the Oxford. All right, so we got hate crime out of the Oxford Dictionary. Hate crime is violent act committed against people because they are of a different race or ethnic group, right? So that's a definition we have. It's because it's a violent act committed against a person because they're in a Slovakia. We got Officer 1000, Priest and Officer 1000 RDR. Shalom, Aki Alba Shemil Shabarakatha.
Hey, Shalom, Akim Yahbashim Yashai Barakah.
What's going on?
Everything's so well. Everything's so well, please.
Most High in Christ. Most High in Christ. All right, so let's get back to it. Shout out to Sister Iwar Ayan. Yao Shema Latham Basham Yashai. Through water for tuning in. Right, so we're going to go back into our article. Right, Ottawa. Canada saw a 37% increase in hate crimes during the first year of COVID-19 pandemic. A statistic that advocates say shows the need for awareness of what radicalized citizens face. Slovakia, racialized citizens face. Statistics Canada said 2,669 hate crimes were reported to police in 2020, the highest number since comparable data became available in 2009. Right? So we're seeing that hate crimes are up, right? And a lot of times the real victims of hate crimes, right, from every nation is Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? There is a bill in the United States for anti-hate on Asians, right? So-called Chinese, so-called Moabites or Vietnamese, so-called Asians, right? But they're blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who've been going through hate crimes and terrorist attacks for the last 500 years, right? There's no bill that says you can't hate a Black, Hispanic, or Native American, right? And you can see that every nation has come up against us, right? And we got another article that we're going to tie into this topic. So let's continue reading. Statistics Canada said, no, Salakia. Let's get down some more. That's even as the report shows the overall rate of police reported crimes, excluding traffic offenses, dropped 10% from 2019 to 2020. Good night. Right. So in 2019 to 2020, hate crimes and crimes against Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans went up, while other crimes such as murder, robbery, and a bunch of other crimes went down by 10%. Right. So what that tells us is every nation is together on one consent to hate Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right. Officer Shah, you want Baba Kashar? Can you get me Zephaniah 2:1? Salaki, you're on mute.
Come, sir, Salaki.
No sweat.
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
Right. That's what we're supposed to do at this moment. We're supposed to gather together, right? Can you read that one more time?
Verse 1. Gather yourselves together.
Hold that right there. This is now these words are inspired by the Lord given to a prophet, right? We're supposed to gather together. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right now is the time to gather together, right? There's always been Salakia. If we don't gather together, we have no protection, right? The other nations are not going to protect us, right? The United States of America, they're getting a law together to give $16 billion in aid to Ukraine, right? Because Ukraine doesn't want to listen to Big Brother Russia. So America decides they're going to give $16 billion to Ukraine, right? There are Native American reserves in the United States that could benefit from $16 billion, right? We just Salakia, our article just came out today. What Canada is spending on sending troops over to give aid to Ukraine, they could give it to the reserves, right? To the ghettos in Montreal, in Toronto, and all throughout the nation, in North Preston.
Right.
Right? But they're not doing that, right? Me and Officer Shah Yuan, we were just talking about no more than 5 minutes ago about how Canada is going to now give they're trying to get money together to build fresh water plants for the Native American reserves, right? For these reserves, right? But what they're not going to do is put new piping so that clean water could get to these houses. What they're not going to do is train the tribe of Gad to take care of these facilities. In fact, it's not the first time they built facilities. They built facilities many times. Those facilities go unmanned, right? Because there's no one there to take care of them, and Canada's not training them, right? We got to gather together. That's what we have to do right now. It's that time for us to gather together. You can keep reading.
Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
Right. There is a nation that is not desired. That nation is the nation of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. That's the nation that's not not desired. All right. Baba Kashaw, you could drop that and get me Psalms 183.
Come.
Right. I'm gonna keep reading. So, Statistics Canada says police reported. Sorry. Police reported hate crimes targeting race or ethnicity rose 80% in 2020 compared with 2019 and accounted for the bulk of the national increase. It says reported hate crimes targeting East. It says reported hate crimes targeting Southeast Asian people went up 300%. Those aimed at Black people went up 92%. Hate against Indigenous people was up 152%. Right? So if you add 152, right, with 92 before, that's a 9. No, Slovakia. 4 to 14. You got about 242. 240%, right? That's how much the hate crimes of blacks and indigenous went up. Right? And now they want to give you a big number that says 300% for Asian people, right? Here's the reality. Asian people are committing hate crimes against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans too, right? Did you know carfentanil comes from China? Right? And now in the city of Toronto, we got carfentanil in every ghetto, right? We got fentanyl on the reserves, right? And who's bringing it in? Something else they're not telling you is Asians also are committing hate crimes on blacks, Hispanics, and Native American. Right, so we're gonna drop that. Shalakia, do you have Psalms 83?
Psalms 83. Come on, sir.
Shalakia, I asked for Psalms 83. Come.
I was holding Psalms 133.
143. 1 second. Maybe I missed
133.
Shalakia, Psalms 83, Baba Kashai.
Come on, sir.
Right now, one thing that we know as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we've been receiving hate crimes since the time of David. Right, and when we go into the songs of David, we go to you can go to Psalms 83, and that is a whole chapter on hate crimes against us. Right.
Salaki, sir.
Khan.
Now, you're going back as far as David. When you look at these scriptures,
right,
and what is happening, the Ukraine now, and in wars to come. You realize that it's a mirror effect, meaning it's the same thing that we had been going through, and it's the same thing we are going through, which means we are at war, but our people are too blind to see.
Right.
I have to
Right.
show them this war that is happening and say, see, okay, remember Putin cried out for when America sanctioned him, he said America is waging economic war against him.
Right.
They have been waging economic war against Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans for so long that we have forgotten that we are at war.
Right. That's heavy. Like we have forgotten that we're at war, right? And
Right.
Slovakia, if I may, one moment. What's sad is the younger generation, the generation under me. I was born in '88, right? So the kids who are now 29 to 19, they don't even understand that they are at war, right? For example, I was on Clubhouse in the Toronto group the other day, talking to a couple sisters and brothers. We were just talking about stuff, and I'm always trying to force the conversation somewhere else, right? So where they're talking about Caravana, I'm talking about we shouldn't celebrate Caravana because the slave master wants us to do that, wants us to run up and down the street naked. A sister said, "Does slavery even exist?" Right? So it's like the younger generation, they don't even know. The older generation, they knew, and just like you said about Awan, they forgot. Salaki, Officer Shah, you had something?
Just holding Psalms 83, sir.
Come on, you could start at da, 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 da. You could start at verse 1.
Come. Verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
Right. We don't want our Lord to be silent on the crimes against us. Right. We now according to the Christian church, God is all love, right? We don't want the Lord to hold his peace on the crimes coming out against us. Right. We wanted to take action because we can clearly see that it's not easy for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to come up against our oppressor and go to war with them. Right now, again, we've been fighting for centuries. Right, we're gonna bring it out as well. Officer Shariwan, he just informed me, right, that they've looked into about 100 or so different schools in Canada. And when we say schools, we're talking about residential schools, right?
Right.
Abatawan, if you're not familiar, resident back in the day, they were kidnapping the tribe of Gad and sending them to schools under the Catholic priest, right? And our brothers and sisters, our children were getting raped, murdered, and molested, right? They were being abused, right? Canada is looking into 100 of those schools at this moment, right? And so far, they're saying they found 10,000 bodies of Gadite children as a result of those schools, right? There was no pledge 16 billion to make sure that the Native Americans don't have to go through those crimes again.
So
Right.
Lucky are the one, if I
Con.
may. So not only did they find 10,000 bodies or 10,000 graves of children on these 120 residential schools, but they also have another 120 schools to investigate.
Good night. It's about to be 30,000 bodies very soon. Right? And that is not even a tick. It's not even a drop in a bucket of all the children that went missing, all the children that were abused. Right? We got listen. Now, murder's wrong. Right? Murder is murder, no matter how you cut it. What Russia is doing in Ukraine, he's not really supposed to be doing that, but the Lord is making these nations move against nations, right? The Lord is building them up so he can show us his power, right? But what you're finding out is, Salakia, where was I going with this, right? We're finding out that our children are being murdered. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we've been murdered. We've been killed every which way. They hunt our steps so we can't go in the streets, right? And there is no outcry for our pain. The world doesn't recognize our pain, right? When it comes to our pain, is listen, they could take pain. They were born to be murdered. They were born to be slaves. They treat us like we're homeborn slaves, right? But Ukraine gets 16 billions. Ukraine gets the Canadian army to go over there and help them, while Canadians on Canadian soil are being mistreated, right? You can keep reading. Salaki, you're on mute again.
Oh, Salaki,
No sweat.
Verse 2, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
Our enemies have come together. They've come together to destroy Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That is their goal. This is, Officer Sharyuan, where are you reading from? This sounds like something new. This sounds like something that is 2022. I guess they made this in 2018. Where are you reading from?
So from the 1611 King James Bible.
Good night. From scripture written over 1,000 years ago. Right? So they've been doing the same thing for over 1,000 years. Jump to verse 3, Baba Kasha.
Come. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
Right. They've come together, right? That crafty counsel is the drugs in our community, right? That crafty counsel is the boil, the basically there's no drinking water for our people, right? It's either drugs. Ask yourself, how do all the guns get into Canada? Right? This is a question you got to ask yourself. How do guns and drugs get into Canada? They shut down the border in 2020. We watched it. No trucks can come in. Nothing can come in. So how do the guns and drugs get in here? Keep reading.
Come. And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Keep reading.
They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Right. They do not want us to be a nation. They do not want us to come together. Right. It's time for Blacks, Hispanics to come to, and Native Americans to come together. Right. Officer Adiyar, we had a conversation about a Hamite girl that got attacked. Right. On first glance, you see the Salakia. I seen this on an Instagram post, right? So in my mind, I'm like, Officer Adiyar, what is going on out there? Was that a sister that was attacked? Turns out it was a Hamite. Boo-hoo, right? But we're seeing that the nations are turning against each other, right? We're seeing the nations turning.
So like a priest, if I may add, with the verse that Officer Shawan is bringing out, like, yeah, they say that like we see in the Bible, like where they say, let us come and cut them off in the nation. So which means that all these other nations, they know who we are. They know that black people are the real Jew, even though they don't say it. Africans know that black people are the real Jews, and even in Montreal, I spoke to a couple Africans. When you ask them like, are black people are the real Jews, and they just say, I don't know, or this, I don't want to. Understand? Like all these East Indian, they know that we are the real Jew. The Chinese know we are the real Jews. All these other nations know that who we are, because most of them had us in captivity and in slavery as well. but they all know who we are. But they will not say to our face. They will call us brothers. They will say, "Oh, we all human, we all equal, and whatnot." Come and say, like, brother, you are a real Jew. Understand? And this is one thing that's in the Bible, as we could see. Why Africans not saying, well, you know what, you are a real Jew? Why they're not saying, like, you understand, you are the chosen people of God? Because just like the Bible say, they are our enemies. They are the enemies of God, and they hate God. And if they hate God, they hate us as well. That's one thing our people should learn and should understand. Like,
Khan, what you're saying is heavy, and if I may add on to what you're saying, right? They know, they don't want us to know, because they know
uh,
that. Okay, now let's look at what happened, right? We got Montreal, we got Jamaica, we got two brothers from the same city that would not be even talking to each other, right? If it wasn't for our history book. Literally, me and Officer Shariwan, we would see each other, we'd walk down the street. Most black men, we do the common courtesy if we make eye contact. Salakia, one moment.
Right.
If we make eye contact, right? We do the head nod. You know, you see a brother walking down the street, you say, "That's a nigga? Oh, you a nigga too?" All right, and you do this. You lift your head up one time and put it back down. And you keep it moving, right? That's what me and Officer Shariwan did. Now, because of Commanding General Yahanna holding this truth for so long and being so strong, listen, Salakia, Commanding General Yahanna, he's the strongest brother I know. To go through what he's gone through and still be here till this day, and you hear the passion in his voice when he speaks about us coming together, right? That's the strongest brother that I know of, right? He's definitely a strong brother, right? And because of him, now you have black men coming together. That's what we need to do. Salakia, Officer Shariwan, can you take over for Salakia? Officer RDR, can you take over for a moment, please? Babu Shah?
Officer Sean, okay, do you have get it right up question? Because I'm outside right.
Salaki, can you say it one more time, Officer earlier?
Take over the class, all right, Bible question.
Come on, sir. Salaki, one moment. We were in Salakia. So we're in the book of Psalms, chapter 83. I'll read that verse one more time. It says, verse 4. Salakia, we'll start at verse 3. Psalms 83 and verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Right? Like what Officer Zabadi and what Officer Adiyar were bringing up was so heavy, and that you hear Commanding General Yahanna say this all the time. Like these oppressors that are over us, they are such monsters.
Right.
For us to have the children of God in 2022 sitting here with no identity, right? We go to all these public schools, colleges, universities, and they still won't give us our identity back. Those Africans know exactly who we are. The Asians know exactly who we are. The East Indians know exactly who we are. And the devil the Bible speaks of know exactly who they are oppressing. And it's why it's so important that Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans start to wake up. Start to wake up to who they really are and obey the Most High. Do what it is that's required of us. Because that's our only weapon against this war. That's our only weapon against these nations that are oppressing us. These nations that are consulting together with one consent, taking crafty counsel. Like Officer Zabadia said, bringing in these drugs, shipping in fentanyl from China to destroy the children of God. It's time for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to wake up.
Right.
Wake up and obey their father.
Right. So like I'm back. Right. And so like Officer Adiyar said, they don't want to tell us, right? They know who we are. They don't want to tell us. They know that if they tell us who we are, we're going to be forced to come together. Right now, they tell us that we're drug dealers, we're gangsters. And they tell our sisters, listen, be Nicki Minaj, be Meg Thee Stallion, be Cardi B, right? Now, now all those names except one will actually like help, like Salakia. Now, Cardi B, she makes the music that I wouldn't want my daughters to listen to, but there's a couple times where she's gonna actually speak up for her people, right? Which is sad because she should be speaking up for her people all the time, right? So let's get back into it. Da, 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 da. Did you read verse? You read verse 4?
Allah, so we're in verse 4.
You could read verse 4.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Right? Give them gangster rap. Right? Give them stripper rap. Stripper rap is anything that makes a sister want to just twerk on a pole outside. Salakia, right? I call it, for lack of better words, right? Don't flag our channel, for music. That music. Listen, I was on the radio. I heard a song. Right now, they're gonna make it look like it's a sister. Doja Cat is a heathen. She's singing a song about she got a man, but she wants you, and that's what they pushed in the black community heavy. They want us to be. Listen, I call that destroy the black family music. Right? Let a sister sing about a song. Now listen, sis. You chose that man. You might see a man that you might. Salaki, I'm trying to say this the best way, right? You chose that man. You got to keep him. Who cares what the other man looks like? Who cares what the other man is driving? The man that you chose, the man that you let put your legs in the air, that is your man for life. Love him, right? Listen, in my neighborhood, we'd say hug that. You have to hug that. You chose him, so now hug that. That's yours. Keep it, right? Love it. These nations, they want us to be destroyed, right? Salakia. They're not going to play the UPK music on the radio and let that spin in the earth 1,000 times, right? Making the captains and the officers rich, like they'll make other celebrities. But they will play something that tells me to go slide on a brother. For an example, the rapper culture, Khan.
So like a priest, if I may, like they're saying, "Come, let's cut off, you understand? From let us cut off Israel from being a nation." And if we realize, like these are the nation, they don't give it them. Like most people think, like, well, you know what, slavery came, slavery happened, but all these other nations are taking advantage of slavery. Understand? The East Indian, they come in, they make money, they send it, you understand, back home to Mama Buddha. Then the Arabs back to Allah and everything. They come over, you understand that they don't care. They don't care of the fact that those native Indian, they don't have clean water to drink in the reservation. They don't give a damn about that. Understand? But they're gonna to talk to us about, you understand, let's pray for Ukraine. Let's pray for Ukraine. But
Right.
like, just like you were saying earlier, what about the native Indian that don't have clean water? They don't give a damn about that, because why? Let us cut them off from being a nation. They don't give a damn the fact that these people, black men, they don't have their nationality, they don't have their identity, they don't have the knowledge of self. They don't give a damn about that. Why? Because let us cut them off from it being a nation. Give a damn if Latinos brothers are in, you know, in cages. Understand? We have children in cages in the border of Mexico. Why? Because let it cut. And these type of things, we should, you understand, should make us realize that the Bible is talking about us. Understand? These things is speaking about us as Black, Hispanics, and Native Indian. And you understand, it is time for our people to wake up. You understand? Because time is soon, and Christ is on his way. Understand? So like a priest.
Nah, that's heavy because it's time. It's time for us to wake up. It seems like there's a lot of time left, right? But there really isn't, right? For what might seem like a long time for us, it's only like a day or two for the Lord, right? The Lord is on his way any second. It can happen right when we're in this class, right?
Time.
In our school, we pray that we have just a little more time, right? Now I'm gonna give you that something heavy, right? And I know my brothers and sisters can understand this. We want our kingdom, right? None of the brothers and sisters that you see, any sister that you see in the school, she doesn't want to have to wake up to go work for some oppressor, right? She wants to be with her kids and lay up with her head all day. Just like the men that you see in the school. We don't want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go have some oppressor tell us what to do all day just to bring home a little bit of money, to enough money to feed ourselves and take care of our children. We want to lay up with our ribs and play with our children all day. I'd rather play Call of Duty with Officer Nashak, Yawa'a, Parak, Kanak, Priest and Officer West Coast Natazov, right? I'd rather play Call of Duty with them all day. I don't want to have some. It's very stressful. I hate listening to oppressors. Listen, I don't like authority anyway, so it makes it even worse. Salakia, let me just clarify, right? I don't like authority outside of the ISUPK telling me what to do at all, ever, right? We want to be with our family, right? That's what we want, right? But me, Officer Sharyuan, Salakia for out of rank and order, Officer Adiyar, Officer Sharyuan, and myself, we don't want this captivity over just yet because we understand that there's more brothers and sisters to wake up. As
Right.
much as we want it over, we're enduring so more brothers and sisters can wake up, right? And we're going to endure. It seems like it's a short time away, but you hear the voice of the priests and prophets before you. It's time to come home, right? So Salakia, that's why these nations, they don't want us to remember who we are, right? You could read verse 5.
Come. For they have consulted together with one consent.
Right? They're all in agreement, right? That agreement is Salakia. That agreement is to hate blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's what the agreement is. To make sure blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are destroyed. Right? They make it so stressful that the only thing you want to do is you just want to forget about it. And a lot of times we use drugs to forget about our pain. Right? My brothers, we remember this pain. We take that pain and we use it as fuel for these classes. We use it as fuel to go out on the corners and preach to our brothers and sisters to wake them up. Right? But these nations, they've come together with one consent, and that's destroy, destroy, destroy. Make sure they are destroyed, right? They need someone to order their Chinese food. They need someone to work in their McDonald's and to do the jobs that they don't want to do themselves. Right? Keep reading.
Come. They are confederate against thee. Verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom.
Right. So hold that right there, right? They have a hate for the Most High, right? They do not want to do what the Most High wants. They think that they're God. That's why they try to make life. That's why they say it's okay to commit abortions, right? They think that they're the gods of the earth, so they want to go into space and explore and destroy and kill, right? And these are the nations that hate us. We're going to go through just a few of the nations that hate us, right? And I'm quite sure you could relate to this, right? Keep reading.
The tabernacles of Edom.
These are damn near almost every police officer you see rolling through your neighborhood. These are your politicians getting on TV saying blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you have to pray for Ukraine and Russia, even though they hate you. Even though now Salakia, these Edomites, they know the difference, but okay. So the ones in power know the difference. The average Edomite, they just think all dark skin is the same, right? So they see a Hamite in Ukraine, and they think it's an Israelite. They think it's a listen. It's just dark skin. It's all the same, and they're going to stop that Hamite from getting on a train because they hate Israelites, right? You have an Elamite, Salakia, the tabernacles of Edom. Those are the oppressors. You go for the job interview, right? You give them your resume, they draw a 110 on your resume, and you're wondering why they drew 110. You don't know that they put a diagonal line between the two ones, and that makes the letter N. It says no, right? This is something I found out working in the retail and watching them do interviews, right? They make sure that you're the last hired. They make sure that you're the first fired. Right? The tabernacles of Edom. Keep reading.
And the Ishmaelites.
Right. Edom is the chief tribe against the Lord. Right? There's no other tribe that hates the Lord as much as Edom. The other nations would they would not hate us so much if they weren't so anxious to do what Edom says. Right? Read that last part again.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the Ishmaelites, listen, the Hamites gathered us up. The Ishmaelites built the ships. The Edomites sailed those ships that had us enslaved. Right? The Ishmael hates you. Every loose cigarette, every blunt wrap, every ounce of heroin sold in our communities, it's coming from Ishmael. Right? They do not want us to remember who we are. They want us to forget about it. Keep reading.
Of Moab. And excuse me, Salakia. Of Moab and the Hagarenes.
Right? Of the Chinese especially hate us. Listen, have you ever walked into a Moab owned restaurant or store? Right? Now, Moab has to be the most helpful people that I've ever known, right? Because when you walk into a place that is owned by Moab, you would swear that their job is to just follow you around the store and make sure you have all the help you need, right? Because that's what Moab does. They follow you around every store and every second of Moab. But it's like, listen, convenient ninjas. That's what I call them. Convenient ninjas. Because you turn around and they're right there beside you in one aisle. You go to the next aisle and they just pop out. May I help you? Right? Salakia. That's what Moab is. The convenience store ninjas. Listen, they own a lot of property in Jamaica, right?
Wow.
And that Salakia. Moab absolutely hates black people. We watched a video. Commanding General YAHANNA brought this out a few months ago, right? During the LA riots, a Moabite shot a daughter of Zion, right? And absolutely nothing happened, right? I seen the UK school. Give a hand to the UK school. Captain Karafia, Officer Karafia, Salakia, if I'm saying it out of order, Dungabar, right? They were bringing it out on the Ends radio show, right? About and I'll let Officer Abadawan, you could fill us in more about it because I don't know too much about it, right? But I seen an article about a Moabite who slapped a Israelite daughter, right? One of our daughters, one of our sisters, in the store and accused her of stealing, and nothing happened about it, right? I just wonder if that woman is still in business. Now, I did see a brother bring the little girl back to the store and she got an apology, but those are just words, right? Words don't really do anything. Actions is what it's about. Salakia, Officer Abadawan.
Kanza.
Are you familiar with the story I'm talking about?
There was a story in Jamaica. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about. A while back.
God, it's the story about the little girl. She got slapped by the Moabite business owner, and Mr. Vegas brought the girl back in for an apology.
For who to apologize?
For the Moabite lady to apologize to the little girl.
That's the thing. These Israelites out there in the world, the jakes, apology. You should got her a lawyer and let her sue her. But you want apology. That's no different from what Esau doing to the black Americans. Apologizing. We don't want no apology.
Right. We definitely do not want no apology, right? Officer Shaw, can you take over for a minute? If you got any precepts you want to bring out on brotherhood and us gathering together, feel free. Officer Abadawan, at any time y'all want to jump in, feel free.
Come, sir.
I'll be right back.
Come, sir.
Come. All right, let's jump to the book of Leviticus. Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 44. All right, this is Leviticus chapter 11, verse 44. It says, "For I am the Lord your God." Right? I am the Lord your God. This is possessive. This is the Most High saying, I am your power. I am the power of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It says, ye shall therefore sanctify yourself, and ye shall be holy. Right? What does it mean to be holy? It means to be separate, set apart, to be different. This is the power that took us out of Egypt. Right? Which is why the Lord's Passover, which is coming up, right, is such a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful time for our people to gather together and to actually celebrate us getting liberty out of the hands of those that oppress us. This is what's going on in 2022. These nations are conspiring together, destroying us. That's why it's so important to gather together, to sanctify ourselves, to be holy. It says, for I am holy. Right? This is a law. This is an order from the Most High, a commandment. Not to be like everybody else.
Right.
Not to live the way your oppressor tells you to live. Not to take on the culture of all these other nations. But to live the way the Most High told us to live. To read our history book. Go through these laws, statutes, and commandments. Learn our culture. What we eat. How we deal with one another. How we judge one another. How we walk together as a nation. To understand, it's so important for us to gather ourselves together, to really come together in unity. This whole Bible is about brotherhood, sisterhood, how we treat one another. It's such an important thing for us. All right, Salaki, I'm going to hand the class back to Officer 1000's body.
Come on, throughout that's definitely heavy, right? And it's definitely like we gotta come together, right? And this book, like my brother said, is definitely about us and how we treat each other, right? And if we don't come together, we're not going to be able to Salakia. In the words of 13th Shield General Mahayaman, right? Salakia. But in his words, if we don't come together, you're not ready for World War III. Right? Us coming together right now is us getting ready for the Third World War. Right? That's how we're going to fight this war. We're gonna fight it with brotherhood. It doesn't matter how many weapons you have, how many Esau's guns and bullets you have. If you're not willing to come together with your brother, you're not going to be able to win this war. Right? Or not even win this war, because we're not fighting this war. The war we're fighting is a spiritual one. We're not going to be able to survive this war that's to come. The nations are definitely going to come up against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? Officer Shayuan, do you have the article that I was asking for out of Montreal about the Hamite girl?
Sir, I was looking for it. I couldn't locate it.
All right, let me see if I could find it.
If I may, Adawan, was the girl 10 years old?
Khan, she was a young Hamite girl. She was walking down the street, and some Elamite attacked her.
Come on, sir.
1 second. Let me see if I can find it. All right, 1 second. Officer Shayuan, I'm going to send it to you. If you could read it, Baba Kasha.
Come on, sir.
Salakia, I put it in the officer's chat.
Come on.
For Canada, it should be in there. And if it's not there, I'll send it to you directly. 1 second. Let me just find it.
Come on, sir. I got it.
Okay, come, Most High in Christ, right? Now, this is a story about a Hamite being attacked, right? And a Elamite attacking her, right? And why I bring this up is because it's about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans gathering together, because what the other nations have sold us, right? Salakia. What the other nations have sold us on their multiculturalism, right? It's done, right? It was never anything good for us, right? The nation's multiculturalism, their NATO or their United Nations, it was about making sure that we didn't have brotherhood with each other, right? And with World War III, you're going to see the race riots. You're going to see every nation come up against each other. Right? 1 moment. Let me find the precept I'm looking for. Officer Abadawan, if you have anything you want to bring out, you could definitely join in.
Okay.
Officer Shayuan, can you get me Matthew 24:7, Baba Shah? Right, and hold that. And you can read that article as soon as you get it.
Come on, sir. Salakia. This is an article titled "Man Who is 21 accused of viciously attacking 10-year-old girl appears in court." The bail hearing for 21-year-old Tanvir Singh, who faces a string of charges in connection with an attack on a 10-year-old girl Monday in the East End Montreal district of Pont-au-Tremblay, has been put off until next week so Singh can undergo a psychiatric evaluation.
Now, Officer Shayuan, what is the likeliness, right? You remember how when we used to go, Officer Shayuan, let's make $1 bet, right? So, remember those dollar bets, right? From when we were going out to handle fires, right? That's when we were young in the game. We still young in the game, but when we were newborn, right? Right now we're about a month old, but when we were newborns, Salakia, the dollar bet is I bet he was smoking. I bet he was high on that Justin Trudeau, Salakia, that legalized, right? Because you brought out the article not too long ago that
right,
marijuana is Salakia. What you know how to say it best?
Salakia, I know exactly what you're referring to. I think it was called some kind of psychosis,
right?
Some type of Salakia, some type of medical induced psychosis from smoking weed.
Right now, right. What you're finding out is a lot of people in Canada are smoking weed, right?
Okay.
And it's not good for our mental health, especially us blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We have a lot of trauma that's passed down. They said the trauma is literally passed down in our DNA, right? Do you know what else is passed down through the DNA for the other nations? The hate of blacks, Hispanics, and Native American. He saw this Hamite woman. He seen her dark skin, and he said, "Oh yeah, I remember. I'm supposed to hate niggers." Right? And now this should never happen, right? This is why the world is supposed to be under the authority of the men in the UPK, right? And the men in the UPK are under the authority of Christ, right? But this is why we're supposed to run the earth, right? We're watching our brothers and sisters. We're watching we're watching the earth as they come up against us. Right? Now again, this is a Hamite girl. She's not an Israelite, right? Who knows what her family did? Who knows what she did in her lifetime? This could just very well be the Lord showing us what's to come, right? But one thing for sure, things like these, if they keep happening, the other nations are going to slowly start to do what they're doing right now, right? But just a little more faster, even though it's kind of slow at the same time. We're gonna see them start to listen, the whole let's hold hands and we could be one and Bob Marley's One Love. Let's be all right. It's dying. It's dead. It's going to finish. We're going to see the other nations stick to each other and come up against each other, right? We don't even need to go any more into this article. I just wanted that one part, right, to show you that the nations are beginning to hate each other, right? And we're seeing that hate crime has gone up. Break-in entries have gone down. Hating a black, Hispanic, or Native American has gone up, right? What was it? 242% when you take the 92 and the 152, right? 244%. That's how much it's gone up, right? You could bring me to Matthew 20, Salakia. Bring me to Matthew 24:7, Baba Kasha.
So look at Matthew chapter 24 and verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation.
Bring that one more time. What's going to happen, Ak?
For nation shall rise against nation.
Sing is going to attack Ham.
Nation shall rise against nation.
Right, the nations are rising. Right, they're going to stick. Listen, Moab is going to gather itself all together and stick together. Gog is trying to get Magog right back to where it used to be. Gog is trying to be Magog again. Right, Russia is trying to get itself all together. Nations are going to rise against nations, right? Keep reading.
And kingdom against kingdom.
And kingdom against kingdom, right? Slovakia. Canada went and sent its troops to Russia, right? A Officer Shayuan, did you hear this? This was in the news. People were talking about it, right? I'm still trying to confirm it, but they're saying that one of Canada's world famous snipers, right, a Edomite, went to the Afghan war, and he was using those Ishmaelites for target practice, right? Killing goats and children and a whole bunch of civilians, like straight up target practice from the hillsides, right? He went to Russia to go fight the Edomites that grew up on cold potatoes and vodka.
God.
Right? He went to go fight Salakia. What's the Edomite from Rocky? What was his name? The one that beat the brakes out of Rocky the first time, right? And he killed Apollo. Salakia. Damn, it was just in my mind. It was in the Creed movie, man. Salakia. But that Canadian Edomite, he went to go fight some of those gangster Russians, and it did not work out. He was killed right away. Right? Now Canada is against Russia. Canada sent one of their good old boys to go get murdered in Russia, in Ukraine. He was killed. Right? Nations are rising against nations. You're going to see more of this happening. They're saying something that, listen, if you're in the school, you already knew this, right? China is siding with Russia, right? These are the reports that are coming out. China is now siding with Russia. It is what it is. There's not going to be anything you could truly do about it, right? The only thing you could do about it as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans is to get in class, is to stick with your brothers, right? Because hate crime is on a rise.
Right.
Right. Keep reading, Bubba Kishar.
Come. And there shall be famines and pestilences.
There's going to be shortage of food. Right. There's going to be more diseases. In Canada, by 2 days from now, you're not going to need a mask anymore. The mask mandate is going to be over. Right. I see videos coming out of Jamaica. They say, now, Abadawan, is this true? The curfew's over in Jamaica?
Not yet. The Prime Minister is planning to lift the curfew and mask mandate. But they're not seeing that the Delta Crown is on its way.
Right. Listen, I heard of a new one called Stealth Omicron. Holy, it's in stealth.
You know, we spoke of Delta Crown before it was discovered, though.
Right.
In December.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we here in Jamaica spoke of it before it. I mean, we did it out of not knowing that it could really happen, but out of what we think the Most High would do, because the people are being too hard of hearing.
Right.
And one of the things we know that he would do is just confuse the system, because that Delta Crown really confused them. At first they said, "Oh man, this must be some mix up in the lab." Only for them to find out that it's now in America and it's in the Europe. It is real.
Damn right.
Right. So Lakia, if I may ask, what they say?
U.K. virus.
Right. So Lakia, if I may, right? Hey, Baraka Allah, Yahweh Hashem Shabbat Kafar.
Shalom Adawanyam Yahweh Hashem Shabbat Katam.
Right. So what's really happening is the Most High sent his priests and prophets to go bring out his word and listen. We said it, and he said, "All right." So they said it. I'm gonna make it happen. So as we're bringing it out, right? He's just saying, "Listen, they don't even know what they're bringing it out." But I'm gonna let them. Not to say we don't know what we're talking about, right? But again, we say the dark sayings of the book, and the Most High brings it to light. Right. And it's the tools that are used to fish brothers and sisters in the school.
Right.
Right. But
Right.
Canada's getting rid of their mandates. Right. The one of the surgeon generals in the province of Montreal said there is a sixth wave that's going to come, right? Sometime around September and August. Right. Barakatha Yahweh Yahweh Shai.
Right.
Let's give the most hand let's please give the most hand a high for that sixth wave.
And
It's way.
you know that sixth wave is gonna be the Delta Cross,
Right.
having UPK written all over it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. Right. That's definitely what's going to happen. Right. We're seeing again, this is about hate crimes on the rise, and we have to understand that with these hate crimes on the rise, it's gonna come a time for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to love each other. We gotta figure out this brotherhood, sisterhood thing right away, fast. Because the other nations they have it. The other nations love each other, right? They're all on one consent to hate us. They will be going to war shortly. They will be going to war very shortly, right? And that's what Officer Shaliwan was just reading. Were you done with that verse?
Allah, sir.
Khan,
And Salaki, if I may, really quick,
Khan.
and something Captain Mawquad said, which I thought was so heavy. Like what you're saying, officers, about it. Not only do we have to gather together, but if you want some kind of safety,
Right.
you got to join the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Because what Officer Abadawan was saying is so heavy in that he prophesied, right? The brothers in the I.S.U.P.K, we're 100-0 when it comes to prophecy. We say
No
it's going to
losses.
come to pass, right?
Right.
We're reading out of the Bible. We're reading prophecy. We're 100-0. If you want to know how to find some kind of safety, you got to get in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge.
Khan, and that's heavy, right? That is definitely heavy. Like we have zero losses when it comes to these prophecies. Now regular brothers and sisters in the world, they look at us like we're crazy. Who are those men with the fringes and the what looks like bandanas with holes in the top of them? Who are those guys with the studs, right? Now the sisters, they walk down the street, they say they're handsome, but they dress kind of weird. Salakia, right? But we're the ones that's telling you what's happening before it happens, right?
Right.
And
Right.
the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge has been talking about Russia getting back to its true form since the 60s.
Right.
Right? No one has brought this out. Listen, y'all Christians go ask your pastor. You Muslims go ask your imam. You can't the Buddhites or whatever they call them, they can't ask their God because their God is a gold statue. Right? If their God was real, he would have told them to stop eating those disgusting bats.
Comic-Con.
That didn't happen. But because they know that we have the truth, they have to destroy us. Because they want their kingdom. Listen, there's a reason why they don't want. Now I'm gonna give you an old saying that they say in the world, right? Basically, we can't all be rich because who's gonna work at McDonald's, right? And who predominantly work at McDonald's and the KFCs and the Burger Kings and all their fast food joints? Who pumps their gas? Who builds their homes? blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? So they got to keep us down. They got to keep us celebrating gods and feast days and things that have nothing to do with our power, right? What do
And
you learn?
they know that we do a better, they know that we do a better job than the other races.
Damn
Right,
right.
That is why they want to keep us in servitude.
right,
Yeah.
Damn right.
right. That is exactly why they want us to be in servitude, right? And one of the things that they do to keep us in servitude is they hunt our steps. Baraki Allah, you have your sword with you?
Karawakan.
Can you get me Lamentations 4 and 17, Baba Kasha?
Karawakan.
Right. We're gonna end this class. This class is not going to be the full 2 hours. We're gonna end it shortly. Right. We had a bunch of technical difficulties today, so the class didn't start on time as it usually should. But we'll be right back with you again next week on time, 8 o'clock to 10 p.m. Right. But we're gonna finish out with these precepts, right? Because as this crime goes up, they know to hunt blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Right.
That's right.
Salakia, you can read it whenever you got it.
Karawakan. Lamentations chapter 4, verse 17.
Right. Okay, you got it.
As for us, our eyes as yet fail for our vain help in our watching. We have
Wait,
watched.
hold that right there. Hold that right there. Our eyes have failed, right? Your eyes failing mean you can't see. Meaning you are blind to what's going on. You're blind to the fact that these nations hate us. You can't see that they're not coming to help you, right? $16 billion to Russia and Ukraine in that conflict, right? Just imagine what would happen if you were to give Jamaica $1 billion. You gave Badawan $1 billion, right? For the help of the tribe of Benjamin. Just imagine the good that would be done.
Right.
If you gave Commanding General YAHANNA, listen, you give Commanding General YAHANNA 5,000, he's gonna take that 5,000. I guarantee you, he's gonna feed 100,000.
Karawakan.
Right? We already went to cartel country. The cartel seen Captain Yatazak and his warriors, right? And they said, well, damn, those are the men of the Lord. And they left them alone. They helped them get to the the tribe of Levi to feed them. And those men only did it with their own money. They only had a small $5,000. They didn't have $1 million. They didn't have 16 billion. Right? Now how much of that, Salakia? 16 billion in aid to Ukraine. How much of that is actually going to Ukraine? Right? There's probably only going to be 50 million that actually makes it to Ukraine. Joe Biden, though, Salakia, he's building a pool out of gold, and it's going to have liquid gold in it.
Right, because you know, in times of war, this is the best time for a country to say you donate to Ukraine.
Yeah.
And in essence, you didn't give them anything.
Right.
Because there is no way to find out, really. Because you cannot do any assessment when you have a war. And even if say Ukraine should manage to defeat Russia, you can always say the records are damaged, you know, in some bomb blast or something.
Right.
So when Joe Biden said 600 billion, you know, sizable amount is for him.
Right.
That's how they do it.
Right. And that's definitely heavy, because there is absolutely no way to trace where that money's going, right? What are they gonna say? They bought gas, they bought bullets, right? they
Are they ice?
what did they do? Salakia, what were you saying about it, one?
Are they bought ice?
Or they bought ice, right? Salakia.
Melt away.
Good night. You bought ice and melted. What do you do with it? Salakia. That is terrible, right? But one thing we know they will do, they will hunt the steps of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Barak Yala, you can keep reading.
Khan, for our vain help in our watching, we have watched for a nation that cannot save us.
Right. None of these nations are going to come and save us. Right. All month I've heard pray for Ukraine. Right. Salakia, I've lost countless friends in my neighborhood. I know many brothers could say the same thing. Right. I've never heard a pray for Jamaica. I've never heard a pray for Montreal North. Pray for Lawrence Heights. I've never heard a pray for the heroin pandemic that has been going on in our communities for the last 60, 70 years. Right? But one Edomite woman gets on TV and starts crying, or one Edomite man talks about his child was blown up and it's the end of the world. Right? We're still trying to get justice for Trayvon Martin. Right? That's one of the countless brothers. We're still trying to figure out how the hell the guns keep getting into Chicago. Right? None of these nations have come to help us, and they're not going to. Keep reading.
Verse 18, they hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets.
Right, hold that right there. You can't go in your streets, right? Montreal, them Hamites in Montreal are finding out, like, listen, the nations really hate the people you sold into slavery, and because you look like them similar in hue, right? Not in facial features, but hue, meaning skin tone. It's just, listen, they're just a little more darker. Their dark is not our dark. Their dark is not the black gem, right? The black rubies that we are, right? You look throughout the UPK, you look throughout the nation of Israel, you see diamonds. You see all types of jewelry, right? They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. Hey, what's going on? Y'all about Shemil Shabrakatha. You're on mute, huh?
Shabbat
The mission. The mission. Boy, I was listening to it the other day. Good night. That is a work of art right there.
Most I am Christ, man. Enough respect, man. Isn't it?
Right. Keep it up, huh? We're talking about hate crime and how hate crime is on a rise. And because of hate crime on a rise, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we need to gather together right now. Because if we don't, we're going to listen, the curses are going to get worse on us. Right? We can't prepare for World War III without gathering together. Every nation with a proper leader would have told you that it's time to gather together. You've seen it, right? The Americans call it patriotism, where they gather together to fight on one accord, one consent. Keep reading, Barak Ali.
Khan, our end is near.
World War III. Read that one more time.
Lamentations chapter 4 verse 18.
Our end is near.
Khan, our end is near.
That's what we see with Russia going into Ukraine. Our end is near. Our time is almost up. Listen, you do not want to get caught up. Officer Shariwan, can you get me Revelations 18 and 4, Brother Kashar? Right? You do not want to get caught up in the plagues of these nations. Our end is near. It's coming to an end. Right? The Most High is going to come and redeem us very soon. Right? And for those of us who aren't in here, good night. It's going to be a terrible time. You listen, it makes me In the school, we know to gather our supplies right now. We're gathering our supplies, right? Outside in the world, the brothers and sisters, they don't have a leader that's telling them to gather supplies. You know what I've heard sisters in Toronto are gathering for right now and getting ready for, what they're saving their money for? Little small pieces of fabric to put across their backside and their front and their brassiere, right? Little sparkles and little gems so they can go dance in Lakeshore naked come summertime,
Right.
right? They're getting ready for carnival, right? I heard some sisters on Clubhouse talking about, yeah, I'm getting my plane ticket. I'm saving for right now to get my plane ticket to go to Carnival in Trinidad if it's there this year. I said, good night. So what about a bucket of rice? He said, what do we need a bucket of rice for? I said, all right, listen, you're going to see the food on the shelves so slowly evaporate. There's going to come a time when you go into Walmart and Walmart is going to be empty, right? And now I got to ask brothers and sisters, do you remember what it was like during the pandemic when you couldn't get black hair products? Because they said the black hair products didn't have to be sold, right? You all the white girl shampoo was there. You couldn't get anything for yourself. You couldn't get any cocoa butter Vaseline. Keep reading.
Our days are fulfilled.
Our days are fulfilled. Listen, the end of our curse is here. The curses are wrapping up for us. Our punishment it's just about over, right? But that doesn't mean it's gonna get any better anytime soon. It's gonna get worse. Because one thing that happens, and this is something you can go all throughout history and see, every time blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans get together, we go up. As we go up, the heathen nations go down. During the Great Depression, we had millionaire cities. We have brothers and sisters who had millions of dollars. We were not eating dust cookies. But as we started to go up, they went down and they had to blow up our city, Rosewood, Greenwood, the cities in Philadelphia. There was a bloody summer full of riots, right? Full of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans just straight up dying, right? Our end is near. It's time for us to gather together. Keep reading.
For our end is come.
Right? Our end has come. So out there, you could drop that right there. Officer Shaywan, do you have the revelations?
Come on, Council. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven
Right.
saying,
This is the voice of the Lord, right? The voice of the angels saying what the Lord wants them to say, right? And this is the prophecy John the Revelator got, right? He knew what was going to happen to us in 2022, right? He knew that listen, we're going to be walking down the street and some Edomite on a bike, right, with a badge and a gun is going to pull us over, demand ID, suspect you of a crime. You know you're right, so you don't want to give it up. And you know that you're a free man. You speak like you're a free man. So you don't want to take that, right? And they just start to crack your head open, right? They were hunting our steps, and a boy in Durham region in Ontario got his eye knocked out by two Edomite police officers, right? Now this is the voice John the Revelator heard where he said he heard another voice, right? And this voice is going to tell him something. And this is what blacks, Hispanics got to do. Take heed to what this scripture says. Keep reading.
come out of her, my people.
Come out of her. Officer Shayuan, who is the her?
Slack out of one, that great whore, Babylon the Great.
Right. Listen, this is that spirit of America, the spirit of Edom. Come out of her, right? Meaning you gotta love your brother. To hate black people is that's what Edom wants you to do. Keep reading.
Come. That ye be not partakers of her sins.
Right. Those sins, listen, the crimes against the Lord, right? All their holidays, everything that you know the Lord doesn't want it. right? That's the pork, that shrimp, that lobster, sleeping with sisters and throwing them away, sisters taking 1,000 husbands in one lifetime, right? And not even saying it. Listen, a sister can have a husband, he dies, she waits some time, and she goes and finds another husband. That there's nothing wrong with that. But we're talking about sisters listening to Gloria Steinberg and kicking the man out the house, thinking that Salaki, I'm just gonna listen. The Transformers right now, there was a Transformer that won an NAACP, no, an NCAA swimming championship. This Transformer, 6 feet tall. The girls are looking on the podium crying. They're crying their eyes out because they weren't able to win, right? Because some Transformer said, listen, Edom said I could be a Transformer. Now I'm going to take every trophy away from every natural female out there, right? And that's crazy that I have to say natural female, right? Because there's only male and female. Keep reading.
Come. And that ye received not of her plagues.
Right. You listen, you don't want to get caught up when those nukes start going off. When Russia starts dropping those bombs, you don't want to get caught up. There are brothers and sisters who went to Ukraine and thought they were a part of the world. We got a quick reminder that they are not even to say they are not. Listen, they got the reminder that you're just a nigga. That was the reminder. Right now, they're receiving some of the plagues. They know what it's like to go through war, and to be reminded that these heathen nations don't love you. Right? You see it all the time with these black police officers who, when they don't have their uniform on, they're treated like the black men that they go to kill and arrest every day. Keep reading.
Come. Verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven.
Right. Her sins have reached onto heaven. Right. You could drop that right there. Right. But the sins of the other nations have gone up to heaven. That's all that blood that they spilled, all that Black, Hispanic, and Native American blood that they spilled, all the families that they've destroyed, all the abominations that they're done in the earth. The Lord is going to remember it. He's going to bring back up our captivity, and he's going to make them have to stand trial for it. Right? So in this day and age, it's time for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to gather and get together again. We got to come back. We got to be a strong family. Right? Just think about it. I'm going to bring up a story that I always hear Captain Tazariak bring up, right? Akai Gurley, the school in New York, headquarters always bring this up. Akai Gurley was a brother in Brooklyn walking through the stairs during a blackout. A police officer killed him. Just straight up killed him for no reason. He went to trial for it, got found guilty, was about to get his time. Moabites came together. They didn't burn down one Walmart. They didn't destroy one Target, right? But that man's sentence was next to nothing because they came together. Now imagine what you could do. That is a small scale of the things you could do if Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans come together. Right? So with that said, it's time for us to gather together again. Akim, y'all got anything to add before we're done? Before we wrap up?
Nah, I don't want that was a Tawad class. Tawada, sir.
The water. Jamaica, y'all got anything y'all want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah. It's full time now. People, the things that are happening now, war. It's gonna get nation gonna continue fighting against nation, and it's good for us.
Yeah.
That when these wars begin, we will begin to see that our lives is just like we are in war.
Right.
That's one. And two, War generally push people together. It have a tendency to bond people. So while they are fighting, we will be bonding. Not should. We will be bonding as a people.
Right.
So we know that this coming together and come out of her will happen. But just the severance package is gonna be heavy for our people.
Right, a heavy severance package.
Yeah, many of our people is gonna go down with them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's definitely heavy. Once again, I'd like to thank Jamaica for tuning in. We appreciate you, right? And this just shows you that, listen, we're just a bunch of brothers in Canada, but we got brothers everywhere, and we're gathering together right now. We're taking our spirit out of this kingdom, right? Once again, I'm Priest and Officer 1000. I got I.S.U.P.K Jamaica, Priest and Officer 1000 of Badawan, Priest and Officer 50 Kayadwan. I got Priest and Officer 500 Barakia Allah. My favorite nigga, Priest and Officer Barakia Allah, right? He is 50 out of Montreal, Salakia Barakia Allah. I don't know about those grasshoppers, Salakia. I don't know what's going on, Salakia. I don't know. But again, this is the I.S.U.P.K Canada Scripture Breakdown. I'm going to pass the class over to Priest and Officer 500 Shariwan. Shalom.
Let's clap it up. We're going to give the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K, start out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to show themselves of the world. They need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. Ma'ashra means tenth in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, funeral offering for priests is not mandatory. Whatever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. We have the Lord's Passover coming up on April 15th. All right, it'll be starting off on April 13th in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Make sure you get a hold of your camp leader so that you can do everything possible to make it down there. To any brother who wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirts, pants, headband, and scarf. With that said, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the brothers, men of Israel and Madiam, which means stand. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Imajim Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yahba Shabbat, Yad Yamatah, which means hands down. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the sisters, Sar, men of Israel, Imajim Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yah Shamar, Yad Yamatah. Class dismissed.